Hey everyone. So in this video, we are going to go through our defensive coverage. Defensive coverage is where we will transition and cover when the other team is preparing to hit, regardless if it's their outside hitter, their middle hitter, or their right side hitter. Now, as you can see right now on our side, we are all at base, right? We're both at the 10-foot line here, deep back over here, and our three front row players are over here. Currently, I have their outside hitter on, right? So the first spot that we're going to look at is how do we cover when their outside hitter is hitting. So now let's transition to block their outside hitter. Our right side will swing block, and we've worked on swing blocking before, and come over here with our 3-step and go straight up to block. Our middle blocker will swing block and join our right side and cover on the double block. We do not want to come all the way outside here to block their hitter. We want to leave this whole entire line open for that hitter, and I'll explain why in a minute. Currently, at this level, there are very few players that will be able to hit line. So we want to take away the angle from them where probably 99% of the time people will be hitting. But just because we're blocking their angle, it does not mean that we are leaving that line defenseless. Our setter will end up transitioning over and covering this line shot over here. Every player on the court plays defense and pass first before anything else. Our middle back, which is our other outside hitter slash defensive specialist DS, will now take approximately about 2 steps over to the left and cover the middle seam. The middle seam is the seam that's right in between our two blockers here. If the blockers do not close up the block and there's a hole right here for them to hit through, this is the position that our middle back has to cover. Our libero is where we've worked on this before, where Coach RJ and I would hit the ball from the outside inwards, right? We had cones set up here, and then we have cones set up here for you to transition. Our libero will take that spot, slide in, and take that short angle shot away from the outside hitter. You will be covering the areas on the left shoulder of your middle blocker. Our front row outside hitter, we also worked on this before where they will step off the net, come to close to the point of the 10-foot line and cover tip. We have to cover everything short here and everything behind us here. Now, if it comes over your head, goes over your head and starts getting into this zone right here, you are allowed to use your hands and go ahead and push that ball back into the setter's location. All right, everyone must play defense. Our middle back right here, remember, you guys have to cover all the way from this corner all the way to the opposite corner. So these corners belong to you. Because we're having our outside hitter play, because we're having our libero play short, then this corner has to be our outside hitter middle back coming over here to protect her. All right, so whenever we see a ball coming angle here, going to the libero, this girl doesn't just get to stand around and just watch her pass. She must move and cover her libero's back in case the libero passes the ball behind her. Okay, now let's move over to their right side hitter. We're going to move the hitter over here. This is their right side hitter now. How will we cover? The outside hitter and the right side hitter coverage, the defensive coverage, is basically the same, but in mirror image, right? What are we going to do? Our outside hitter will come and swing block with our middle. Our middle will come all the way over here and swing block. Now, remember, we leave this line wide open regardless of how far their outside hitter goes out to try to hit the ball. We leave that line open. Why? Now on this side, who covers line? Our libero comes back and cover line. We've also worked on this before where we are hitting at you from this right side and hitting line, and you guys have to transition back here to cover. Same thing with our back row outside hitter or our DS. We shift over right, cover the seam area right here in between our blockers. All right. Our setter now essentially doing the mirror image of what the libero did on the outside hitter. We come back and come in and cover that short angle. Our right side now gets to release from the net, come closer to the 10-foot line, and cover tip. Now, who takes this short area over here? If they happen to tip over our blockers, depending on which angle they take, if they take a shorter angle here, libero has to come and take the tip. If they go an angle tip over here, if it's short, our right side hitter will cover the tip here, will cover the tip here. If it comes angle deep here, now it belongs to the setter. Okay. Now let's move their hitter into the middle. At this stage, you will see a lot more sets going to the middle and going to the outside than the right side. Just like our team will be the same way for a bit until our setters get a little stronger with that 5 ball. So now their hitter is in the middle. How do we cover the hitter? We will no longer go with double block. We will only go with a single block with our middle blocker here. So our two wings, what these two girls right here, they are called the pin blockers, all right, because they are like bowling pins here, and they're the outside part of the bowling pins, right? So they're called the pin blockers. The pins will pull back here and cover tip. This pin outside hitter will pull back and cover tip. She is covering on the left side of the middle blocker shoulder, left shoulder. This pin will be covering all the tips on the right side of your middle blocker. So now they are essentially going to be in the way of our back row wings. Our wings will now pull off and cover a little deeper in case they hit. Now, this is one of the 2 times that our middle back defensive specialist outside hitter is allowed to cheat and move up. She will now move up here and almost form a complete straight line over here. All right, because we are betting that in order to get by this hitter, they will have to roll the ball over where it usually comes short. Now, there are a lot of times where I prefer, if this blocker decides to take a step to the left, I want to see our middle back take a step to the right and cover the right shoulder, right? Because they're taking away this line over here, then you cover the opposite line. Now, if our middle goes to the right side, then our middle back will go to the left side. It's very slight 2-step, either to your left or to your right. Now, this coverage is very easy to remember. Why? What does it look like to you guys right now? It literally looks like bowling pins, right? We have 3 down here, 2, and then 1. Okay. Again, our pins need to cover short holes here as well as corners. This one needs to cover here, corner, all right, and short holes here. On a real court, there is going to be a much larger space for you guys to cover. It looks nice and tight over here, only because my board is definitely not to scale, right? But this gives you an idea of what and where you're supposed to cover. We are going to go into that tomorrow since we start practice earlier before we scrimmage the other team. But this gives you an idea and a feel of how it should be before we get into it. All right. I see that you guys did really well with watching videos on serve receive, so I believe that you guys are more than capable of doing this one as well. There will be a lot of confusion, but that's what uh, Coach Raja and I are there for. We will definitely keep working on it as we prepare to go into our first tournament. Now, the final part of the video, we are going to discuss what we should do and where should we cover if it ends up being their back row hitter. Whether they're hitting from the middle or hitting from their left side or hitting from their right side, what do we do? If they are hitting from the middle spot right here, we are going to have our middle blocker stay up there and attempt to block her. Now you have to remember, because she is at least 10 feet away from the net, you will have to jump a little bit later. You have to time the ball and not the hitter. In this spot right here, our back row will go into a straight line. Our wings pull back, our middle pulls up, and we're going to have a straight line right here. Almost like how we should look for our serve receive. Our front row will slide back to the 10-foot line, slide back to the 10-foot line, and cover all the short balls. This entire area right here will belong to the middle back. You must try to get up there and try to pass that ball. All right, this is the second time that our middle back gets to cheat up on defense. Now, if it is any of their hitters on the left side or the right side, it completely changes where our blocker will no longer block. She will pull back as well. There'll be a little bit more separation on a real court. And we will go 3 fronts and 3 back and let them hit. And then we play the ball. Okay, so whether it's their left back or their right back, this is the position that we will be in. Biggest thing to remember is no matter who is hitting the ball, our setter, if the ball does not come to your side, you must release away from the net, release away from your defensive position and go to the net and prepare to set the ball. Our blockers, as soon as we finish blocking, we have to quickly turn around, locate the ball that went to our back row, and follow it back into our setter and be ready to hit.